I'm Jeff Goodman with GE Aviation's Customer Technical Education Center, and I'm here today to talk to you about the removal and installation of the GEnx fuel filter. Here's the entire assembly, and we'll be concentrating on a couple of key issues when removing and installing the filter. Number one is the ratchet lock tab, which acts as our secondary locking feature instead of safety wire for the filter bowl. There are two different types. This is the old style gray color mentioned in the AMM, and we'll also be talking about the new blue colored ratchet lock tab in this video. The other item are the seals up inside of the assembly housing for the filter bowl. There's two different sets of those, old style and new style, and we'll be covering both of them as we go through this video. So you will cut the safety wire on the drain plug. Take your wrench, unscrew the drain plug. Have a container ready to catch the 1 liter to 1 quart of fuel that will come out. Change the O-ring and reinstall it, torque it down, and re-safety wire it before removing the filter bowl. Of the two ratchet lock tabs, the one that's gray in color is the older style. It's spring-loaded to the closed position, and using your finger, you must hold it in the open position all the time as you remove the filter bowl. So we put our wrench on, reach up there, disengage the gray colored ratchet lock tab, and then using the wrench, we unscrew it. Until we reach the point where we can turn it by hand. Once it is backed out enough, we can release the ratchet lock tab, does not catch anymore. And we can continue to unscrew and remove the filter bowl. And then the filter. The new ratchet lock tab is blue in color, and it is spring-loaded to the closed position. And when you push it with your finger, it should latch in the unlock position for you to remove the filter bowl. And then you must pull down on it and release, and it should reset to the engaged position. So here we have the ratchet lock tab, the new blue one. And if we're going to remove the filter bowl with that one installed, all we need to do is push on the tab, and it should unlock and remain unlocked so that we can unscrew and remove the filter bowl. At the point that we are now, the ratchet lock tab will not engage anymore. If I continue to turn the bowl, the teeth are going to hit against that part of the ratchet lock tab. So all we need to do is re-engage the ratchet lock tab, and all you do is pull down on the front and back and release. And now it springs back into position out of the way of the filter bowl, and I can go ahead and unscrew and remove it, and then remove the filter. Whether you have the gray or the blue ratchet lock tab, failing to disengage it from the filter bowl before removing the filter bowl could cause the tip of the ratchet lock tab to be broken off, as seen in this photograph. Before we install the filter bowl, we must examine the backup rings, those white ones up in there, and the O-ring. Make sure that they are okay, 360 degrees around. If we find any damage, then we're going to have to replace them. If they're found to be in okay position, we can reuse these. The AMM tells you in what order to install the seals. They need to be properly lubricated with engine oil first, and the best way I have found to perform this function is to take the first backup ring, install it, holding it with one finger. I can take the other one and work it into the groove, all 360 degrees. Next, you'll install the preform packing, again using one finger to hold it into position while I use the other hand to slide it into position into the groove. Then the last step is take the second backup ring, put it in, again using one finger to hold it in place in the groove below the O-ring packing, and the other hand to put it into the groove. Once you have installed the old style backup rings with the scarf cut, we must now look in the AMM and make sure that the overlap and cut of the backup rings is acceptable. So again, following the AMM procedure, you need to install the new style packings and preform O-ring. Again, with them properly lubricated with oil. We're going to install one of the backup retainers first. Again, holding it with my finger in the groove in one position while I install it 360 degrees with the other. And then we will take the preform packing, again, putting it into the bottom, holding it with one hand while using the other hand to fully seat it. And we will install the second retaining ring below the preform packing, again using one hand to hold it in position while we maneuver it with the other hand. The removed fuel filter is disposable and not cleanable, so we must always replace it with a new filter. With the fuel filter, we'll need to install the preform packings on it as well. The preform packings come with it, and after you've put engine oil on them, as the manual calls for, we will install the one at the one end into the groove. And then we will need to install the smaller preform packing in the opposite end into the groove. So the AMM and I recommend that you install the filter first into the assembly housing. With it well lubricated, both the preform packing and the land inside of the housing. We'll install it up in there, working it into position till it's fully seated. Now we can go ahead and install the filter bowl. When we install the filter bowl, we want to make sure that we do not exceed the AMM limit on the amount of torque that we can apply to the filter bowl. Installation of the filter bowl using the gray ratchet lock tab. We will install the filter first up into the filter housing. till it is seated. And now we will install our filter bowl over that, threading it on as far as we can by hand. And you'll see as the ratchet lock tab starts to engage, tapping out of the way. Tighten it as far as you can by hand. There should be no gap between the filter bowl and the assembly head. If there is, you can take a wrench to tighten it up. Installation of the filter bowl using the blue ratchet lock tab. If the ratchet lock tab is not in the engaged position, reset. It's still in the open position here. When I go to install the filter bowl, the ridge of the ratchet lock tab here, the filter bowl, is hitting the ratchet lock tab. Got to be sure it's in the closed position before we install the filter bowl. We could damage the ratchet lock tab while we're trying to screw it into place. A lot of times when you go to install the filter, especially if you have new seals and backup rings, there's going to be a big gap up there at the top between the filter bowl and the assembly. When that happens, we don't want to over torque it, so we're going to take our torque wrench, set to a value slightly less than the maximum allowed in the AMM, and we are going to use it to tighten the bowl up. We don't want to exceed our limit, so if it clicks on me, I know I've gone too far. Need to remove the bowl then and try to find out what is causing our disruption. This is one of the other common mistakes, is that once you have installed the bowl and tightened it down, that you look at the ratchet lock tab and you see it sitting on top of one of the teeth, and that is fine. Sometimes that scares people and they want to try to tighten the bowl or loosen it up to get that down in the groove, and that's when we could break the tip off as well, trying to turn the bowl with it engaged. So even if the bowl moves and drops down into the next tooth, that is fine as well. Because if that was too much rotation to allow for the filter bowl, then we would have more teeth, providing less spacing for that feature to drop into the teeth and lock. So once you've installed it, tight, as the AMM says, walk away. Don't worry about where that tooth is engaged. Thanks for watching this video on the fuel filter removal and installation of the GEnx. We'll see you next time.